Hi, welcome back to the VK Online Education Training course. The theme of this lesson is monitoring events. We'll introduce monitoring events using switch function. The monitoring events we have mentioned earlier have been used to judge a single condition or event. But, if the feedback message that we captured has multiple conditions at the same time, we will need to use switch function. First of all, we create a monitoring event. We change the type to switch type. Most of the settings of the switch are actually the same as the if monitoring function. Here, we can set the name. And here, is the setting of the query frequency. Switch type function only support listen to port and query port monitoring function. For query port function, you can see that all the settings here is the same. We need to assign a command to this monitoring function that will be sent periodically to the device. We also need to select receive time, and manage capturing condition. In this example, we can use a simple listen feedback monitor. First, select Hercules as the device. Next, let's set the conditions for feedback message monitoring. This setting method is also if monitoring function. We use a non-fixed length string here, and then set a string. Here, we will set its rules. Here, we will check a feedback from a device that will send us its input value. \r represents carriage return function. In VK6000, we can use / to represent some additional functions such as carriage return and line feed. If you are using hexadecimal value, you can use 0D instead, to send carriage return function. Press apply to proceed. For this return message, we want to capture what kind of input the device is using. So, we want to intercept the string value after the equal symbol, and before the / symbol. As you can see, if you are using switch type monitoring, you'll not see conditional judgment parameter here. Click OK to return. On the left side, you'll see a drop-down menu called Default Case. Click it, and you'll see there are a few options. Case 1 represent the first conditional judgment parameter that you can assign. If you have more than one case, then you can click Add More Cases to add case number 2, and so on. At this time, you will see that case 1 and case 2 represent two different conditions. We first choose case 1. There are two empty fields on the right side. The first field is to name the condition you'll check. For this example, we'll name it PC. Then, the second field is the string that you wanted to compare to the feedback message you have set earlier. For case 1, we'll set it as VGA. So, when the feedback message is equal to VGA, VK will trigger the next action. We'll determine the next action to change the content of the text label, for example. It will change the text label to VGA. After we've finished setting case 1, we go to case 2. We assign a name for this case 2. For example, we name it BD or Blu-ray player. Its input source is HDMI, so we write HDMI here. Then, we change the text label. We select label 2 here. This completes the settings for two conditions. If there are more input, we can add more cases. In addition, if the feedback doesn't satisfy any of the cases we have set, we can add an action to the default case option. It means, the action in this default case will be triggered instead. So, on this default case option, we create a command to change label to no input, indicating that there is no input detected from the feedback message. Then we upload this profile to the VK to test it. We'll use Hercules again for this example. Let's send a command first to see if it can work. The first condition was met, so the text label was changed to VGA. Please kindly note that the monitoring function is case sensitive. We write VGA in uppercase on our monitoring function earlier. That's why we also write it in capital here. As you can see that we also write HDMI in capital. That's why we also write HDMI in capital and send it to the VK. Text label becomes HDMI, indicating the feedback message is correct. In the end, if neither of these two cases meet the conditions, it will use the default case. For example, I send a feedback message that we haven't defined earlier on monitoring function. Since it doesn't belong to either case 1 or case 2, the text label will show no input. This is all the content of this unit. Thank you for watching. See you in the next lesson.